Oh, you haven't spent enough time with us. So, thank you all for joining us. Excuse me. This is the Marine Advisory Board meeting for Thursday, December 5th. I'm sorry. Thank you all for joining again. It is a brief meeting. Hopefully, we can enjoy the holiday. We'll acknowledge some folks who are here, etc. Let's have a roll call, please.
Absolutely. Norm Becko. Tyler Brunel.
Here.
Jason Dunbar.
Here.
Barry Flanagan.
Here.
Robert Price.
Here.
James Harrison.
Here.
John Lynch. Noel Norton, stand us by Zoom.
Present.
Excellent. Thank you. Ed Rebos.
Here.
Bill Walker. Robert Washington.
Here.
And Chair Whitten.
Here.
Do you have one?
Thank you very much. So we're going to move things around a little bit. We're going to defer waterway crime and voting safety report. Our dear friend John Herbst, Commissioner Herbst, is here. So we know he has lots of babies because with the Christmas holidays, etc. So we really appreciate you stopping by. First of all, congratulations on being reelected. So I have, as I've always done, John or other people I've visited, I put together their bio, etc. And then I crossed it all out and said, the hell with this. We know John. Here's bio introduction. All around good guy. No surprise is what you see you get. Okay. So this is the guy that represents an important district. I'm actually
Appreciate that.
yeah. We'll talk about.
Hopefully you voted for me.
Well,
Awkward.
okay. So I asked John to join us, and one of the things that I had noticed was that my notes were that MAB is not as active, I want to say, in John's district, which is District 1. And the good news is there's not a lot of reasons why I guess we need to be active, but in the same sense, the initiatives we've all talked about here with respect to clean water and safe voting and everything else are consistent everywhere else we go. And I'm renting a house up on Paul Ridge, right across from Birch Park, and that is the Wild West. We're talking about the wakes, etc. So there's a lot of focus that needs to go on, not just on in Glassman and somebody else's district, but in John's district, where there's no real issues, but we want to keep it that way. So I asked John if he could stop by, talk about possibly any issues that we might assist with, just some general thoughts, and just shake hands and enjoy the holidays. So you got the floor.
I appreciate that. So the only reason I'm here is he promised me there was alcohol, and if there's drinks, I'm here. So
I'll get some M&Ms too.
So as Steve said, we've had a very interesting election season. So I've been out, shaking babies and kissing mommies, and so. Happy to have that all behind us. The election is always fun. You get out there, you knock on doors for months on end, and you meet a lot of folks in the neighborhood, and that's always great. It's exhausting, but you meet a lot of people and you hear a lot, which is what's really great about it. You actually get down there and talk to people, and it's funny because most people will tell you that they've never met an elected official. Nobody's ever stopped by their door and knocked on it and said hello. And the funny thing is, they'll tell you, "I'll vote for you just because you stopped at my door." They have no idea anything about you, but like, "Oh, you stopped at the door. All right, I'm voting for you. That's great." I'm like, love that. But as Steve said, we're fortunate that we have some less issues in District 1 as it comes to the waterways, but we do have a couple, and clean waterways is one of them. We've had challenges with keeping the waterways clean, and it's mostly the debris that falls into water. It's palm fronds, it's the coconuts and things like that. And the city has kind of stepped up now. We've increased our contract for skimming and trying to keep it clean. Between the landings, Bay Colony, these areas up there are ones that are really focused on trying to keep the areas behind their houses clean. I've talked to some of the folks in the landings about they've installed some of their own personal skimmers out there and tried different mechanisms to do that. So that's been an issue for us. It's one that, hopefully the new contract will really help us with. The one area where we do have a problem, Bob and I have been talking about this now for a while, is the sailboats over there that have been anchoring down. So my property owners are not happy because they've got permanent residents. But basically, they've got a floating trailer park and they're not very happy about that. And they're looking for all kinds of ways to kind of address that. They were hoping that Chip Lamarca's new ordinance might give them an avenue for redress, but as Bob and I have been talking, that might actually, in some respects, create more problems than it solves. And so we've been talking about doing outreach to these impacted areas. And it's not just for me, we have it in a couple of other spots. So we've been talking about trying to maybe coordinate a joint meeting, do outreach to the residents so they understand the good, the bad, the ugly with respect to doing that. But I think that's really important to keep talking about that. I know one of my residents had proposed a couple of years ago that we look into buying a boat that can go around and do pump outs, from all these things. We looked and see if we can get a grant to do that. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. I know we do have pump outs where people can bring their boats to it, but not all these boats are excessively mobile. Let's just say that.
It's interesting for you going down the list of initiatives. Bob actually had dark hair when he started working on the it's just, I mean, we're talking, it's mind-boggling.
Excuse me, that was Lifeguard Blonde.
Still is. And pump outs. We've talked about any time I've mentioned I grew up around Rock Island, so I know how effectively they do that.
Right.
It's a real simple program.
Right.
You cannot anchor overnight unless somebody's come by and confirmed that you have sticker, your valve is turned off.
Right.
And we pumped out. The fact that we allow people, excuse my French, to pump shit into the water we swim, that's totally understandable.
Yeah,
So
no,
we're on the
it's-
same page.
Yeah, no, it's a concern, and I think that area over there is one that's heavily utilized by a lot of recreational folks. We've got jet skiing, got all kinds of things going on, and we want to make it safe for everybody to use it. We want to make the water as clean and safe as possible, and we want to protect the property owners to a great extent. I mean, obviously, we can't legislate views. Nobody's entitled to an unobstructed view anywhere. But by the same token, again, like I said, we don't want a floating RV park behind somebody's house. We don't want people encroaching on their property. So we need to find a way to balance that. One of the things that I'll just kind of, share with you all is just my view of the Marine Advisory Board and our waterways in general. So I kind of look at this in kind of a bifurcated way. So I've lived on the New River. I'm a boater myself, right? So I have my little pontoon boat that I love to run around on. I've got a couple of jet skis that I like to play on. I've got kayaks. So I like being out on the water. I enjoy it. And I also appreciate the marine industry and everything it brings to Fort Lauderdale. It's a critical part of our economy down here. It brings jobs. It brings tourism. It brings a lot of things. So the challenge that we as commissioners and you as our advisory board have is balancing these interests. How do we protect? And I'm also, as anybody who's ever heard me talk, an outspoken advocate for property rights. So we've got all these competing interests between, the recreational boat, the property rights of folks who buy property along the water with an expectation of being able to use it to its full advantage, and the industry that drives jobs and our economy. So it's a delicate balancing act that you all have to deal with, and that's why we rely on you. If you leave it up to us, we're going to screw it up. So that's why we rely on the advisory board, because you have the expertise, you dive deeply into these issues, and we may not always take your advice. And I always tell us we've got 40 plus boards and committees in the city. We ask you to research, we ask you to debate, we ask you to take public input, but we're also getting public input from a lot of folks that may or may not be coming to you. We have outside folks that are contacting us directly. So for every 5 people that may come and talk to you, I've got 50 people that are emailing me. So when we may do something contrary to the advice that you give us, it's because we've also got other constituencies that are reaching out to us and also trying to represent, different interests. But again, always remember that the work that you do is critical for informing us. You educate us, and again, you do the research that we don't have time to do ourselves. So it's an incredibly valuable tool. It's an important mechanism for keeping the commission informed, and again, for helping us make better decisions. And again, balancing all that is a very difficult job. You got to be kind of King Solomon at time and figure out how to split that baby in half. And sometimes everybody loses. So that's just kind of my overarching philosophy is we all have to share the waterways, and how we do that is what makes it work for everybody.
I think it's Anybody have questions for us? Something that we get an opportunity to meet like this, we will toast, that is.
I'd like to see some people on my naughty list.
Come on up, Santa.
I think you know who you are. I don't have to point you out. What's going on?
Come on up, Santa.
Here I go.
Well, Santa, it's nice to see you.
Y'all thought this meeting was going to be so boring.
Hey, Santa. How are you?
So Santa had forwarded us a few gifts. And the reason we can do this is because we don't have our business here today. So we decided to make this. I mean, John, there's another bottle box. We want to crack that other bottle back there. So we have a few small gestures of appreciation here. And we will start with Santa, if you don't mind announcing the board. Guys,
It is. Commissioner Herbert?
Commissioner Herbst.
Whoa!
So you gotta open your presents in front of everybody.
I'm gonna start coming more often if you start bribing me. Absolutely.
To give,
One more.
get a 10 more, please.
Sorry.
One more. I'm sorry. Okay. Got it. He skipped on the tequila.
So guys, everybody pitched in. So this was for, hang on, it's what, something went behind this. All right, then it's coming. Okay, so, bear with me. John Herbst. Santa had a tough time deciding, so Commissioner Herbst gets two gifts.
Yes.
One from the board expressing what we think of you, which is not that one. This, you're gonna love this.
There we go.
You get to open this and we'll embarrass you in front of everyone.
I love that. I love that.
Super Commissioner John Herbst. Great and support both of you. The other thing is that,
This goes back to the office.
and then we also know that, that John attempts to minimize interruptions during the day. So when you enter his office, you take a number now. You do so at your own risk. And of course, we have a complimentary M&M's jar.
There you go.
All right. So I'm going to tell you something funny about this. Years ago, I used to talk to Lee Feldman, our former city manager, and I always said, he was like, John, do you want to be a city manager? And I said, I've turned the job down 3 times. Twice up in North Florida and once down here when they offered it to me. And I said, the reason is you're a city manager, you're the head of the complaint department. Every little old lady whose trash didn't get picked up or somebody's parked in her swale calls you. Well, guess what? They also call the commissioner. I'm now the head of the complaint department. So. That's it.
You want a picture of your gift?
Absolutely. Heck yeah. Wait,
Who's
I
your
got
photographer?
to take the statue
Who's
back.
got the camera?
Everyone.
Photographer.
We've got to see on overtime here.
You guys got a newsletter, don't you?
Absolutely. There we go.
Phone. Okay. Which way are we going? Out of way?
This is beautiful.
Okay.
So I always wanted my Oscar moment. This is it. You love me. You really, really love me.
Thank all the little people. Thank all the little people. Made it possible.
So you got 5 more minutes?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in a
So
rush.
next,
Good.
who's next, Santa?
We got Bob Dunkel.
Very nice. Sort of Bob Dunkel here.
Papa Dunk. Papa
Now,
Dunk.
Bob Dunkel, one of the joys of getting older is you can have selective hearing. As a city attorney, we want to make sure Bob doesn't miss anything. So we got him. Even better.
I think we're good.
We went all out a state-of-the-art hearing aid.
Looks like you on the front too.
Did you?
So next, Next, we have, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name.
Andrew Cuba.
Is there a Cuba here? Andrew Cuba. Now, Andrew Cuba.
How do you have
backwards upside down.
Upside down.
So the MAB,
Upside down and inside out.
MAB does not move without Andrew Cuba. But he also wears many hats at Park Recs, etc. So Santa got him a new desk plate to help identify his various roles. There's also M&Ms in here. Thank you very much. So he has a new desk plate that defines
Oh, there we go.
Or is that photographer?
ringmaster of the shit show.
There you go.
Good title.
Thank you. Now we have another guy. I said you're going to have struggled with that name.
John Muscombe.
Very good. Is there a Mr. Luscombe here? John Luscombe.
Did I say that correctly?
It's close enough. Close enough.
So
Close enough for government work.
Santa's elves, this is very serious, guys, by the way. I'm going to shed a tear with this. Santa's elves mentioned that this might be our buddy John's last meeting. Now, John is obviously this John. So he's obviously. So John
You're
Luscombe.
firing me again.
It's not that easy. He just got reelected. So John Luscombe is, at this point in his time in life, going to slow down a little bit. So we got him something because we thought he might.
Cure for hangovers.
Cure for
Cure for hangovers. If you want to show him, John, I'll show you what's inside this. Because this indeed is a
Hair of the dog.
cure for hangovers.
Or boots.
It's a flap.
So when John's sitting out there on his yacht reading,
There you go.
I'm gonna show you again. There we go.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, you guys.
Say.
we have two
Don't
more.
worry, next time. Stay drunk.
40 years, Bob, and
We
that's
have
what you
two
get.
more. We have one. I don't know who this is for. Steve.
Steve Whitten.
Oh my God! What is this?
Get up here.
Some M&Ms.
So, gosh, Santa, it is a bullshit alert. And we'll sit in the middle of the table, and when somebody joins us and tells us about extraordinary circumstances,
Oh,
we're gonna go.
We need to pull the board down here.
That's it.
That's gonna wear out really.
Now, everybody's gonna want one now.
That's gonna wear out.
Oh, that's
This is Barry Flanagan.
Very Flanagan.
Barry.
Uh-oh,
Uh-oh, it's
there's
right.
gonna be a problem.
Okay, I will come up
It
there.
looks like it's a little too late to make the nice list, so. Could be jewelry.
That's in Missouri.
Uh-oh. Cold in your stomach.
Oh, yeah.
That's it, from the bottom of your heart, right, Barry?
So everybody, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year. Mark, you don't have a class. I have nothing. John, patience, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
I
Happy
gotta get
holidays.
his too.
We'll wrap up. It's a pleasure being a part of you guys. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Mishap with the express lane.
I may need, let's see. Yeah, that'll go this way?
Uh-huh. Wait till Marcia sees that.
Where's the other one?
I love that. I love
I'm gonna drive home this way. Hear that officer will pull you over. That's right, yeah. Like, yo, call,
Wait.
call me if you need me to bail you out. Say the force be with you.
Just tell me where it goes to hers.
Santa, thank you again. All right.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Santa.
My wife, good job. You guys did this every year. You guys have yeah.
Notes to the
All right,
public.
so,
Put your waivers on the
Yeah.
December meeting.
moving on.
How can you deny a waiver after all that, right?
So, guys, I thought we did this already. Waterway crime and safety. John, you're welcome to leave.
No, I got all the time.
Okay. So, waterway crime and safety.
He's trying to get rid of me already. He's been begging me to come for weeks now. He's like, John, get out of here. We're gonna do some real work. I need you to leave now.
You know, like you can't bullshit a bullshitter. You can't break balls with a ball. So it's beautiful. So, waterway crime and boating safety report. Our dear friend Travis O'Neill is out with his daughter at a Christmas event, which is wonderful. We have Mark joining us, who Mark, you've been here before, haven't you? Yeah. One of the great guys as well. The Marine team is just, you all know how I think about it. So thank you for joining us. If you give your report, then I want to introduce Manny Gonzalez and talk about code, etc. And maybe while John's here, we can kind of distinguish those roles. So give us an idea of how much trouble we got into last month.
Well, actually, pretty good. It's pretty slow out there right now. Weather and the season approaching. We had 68 calls for service, 38 citations were issued, 4 accidents with no injuries at all, and only 1 boating murder. It was on a 2021 Egg one, 34-foot, 2 Garmin GPS stolen. Imagine that. Totaling $10,000. There was video footage, but of course it just shows a silhouette at 0300 in the morning, with a hooded sweatshirt going into the boat, moving the system. And so, of course, it's passed on to our detective bureau to campus neighborhood further for other video if possible. Fingerprints were recovered and submitted for processing, so we're still waiting to get back on that right now.
So where was that?
That was just 3000 Northeast 48th Street. So just north of the park.
So we had talked before. We met with Matt Monk, a group of guys, coach show from Gardens and some senior guys, and talking about the issues we have. And they're real issues. I mean, my book that broke it into, you know what each of those screens cost, and they're very expensive to replace, and you're not going to put it through insurance, it's to the gym, etc. So it's a real issue. So we explained to Garmin, as Travis explained, etc. You got to book these things. So we're going to have them visit, I believe, in January, February, and talk about it again. What we can do together to inform the public, put some signs on the boxes, and so on. So, thank you. Are you all set? Yes, sir. So, Manny, where are you? So Manny Gonzalez is now. I'm sorry to make you stand.
No, it's okay. I like
So Manny
standing.
Gonzalez is.
I took your seat. Sorry.
No, you're okay. What is your actual type?
So my name's actually Manny Garcia.
Garcia, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think
And
they're pretty good. So
it's
I'm not
actually
sure
kind of
that's-
funny because I hear these names and the names ring a bell. I just never put a name to a face to the name. So Bob, finally a pleasure to meet you. Andrew, finally a pleasure to meet you. And John, after how many years of working together?
It's email saying everything's an email now.
Yeah. So John and I, we've worked together actually since I want to say it was like 2020. Just like, yeah. So most of you might not know this, but in 2020, I teamed up with the Fort Lauderdale Marine Unit, the police department, and I started going out into the waterways and performing all the waterway inspections. And then while COVID hit, one of the things that I was trying to tackle was all the derelict vessels that were out on the water, especially with hurricane season coming up. I felt like it was a task to put in. Obviously, the amount of work that the City of Fort Lauderdale Code Compliance Division was putting as far as numbers of all the cases that we're developing out on the water, with the assistance of the Fort Lauderdale Police Department and our supervisors and the commissioners, we were then able to get the boat, and we've been actually operating every week and going out there and trying to tackle these things. When we talk about the City of Fort Lauderdale, we're all aware. We cover 165 miles of nautical waterway. We have approximately 13 million tourists that come out to the City of Fort Lauderdale every year, and we're talking about 13 million tourists that come overnight. So we're not just talking about people that just come from Miami, they drive up to Fort Lauderdale and then go back home. These are actually people that are enjoying not just the City of Fort Lauderdale as a whole, but they see the waterways and they go out, whether it's on the water taxi or they go out on the
Jungle Queen, you know, we're out here trying to protect our waterways. So the efforts that you guys are putting in by having this committee put together, we see it and we want to work with you as much as we can, and that's why we're out here. So I thank you all for allowing me to be here tonight. Just to kind of give you guys a quick rundown. So to answer your question, I'm actually a senior code compliance officer. And from October 1st to today, we've performed 74 inspections on the water. These are 74 different cases as a whole. One of the things that I've been kind of coming across a lot, and it's one of the things that I look out for simply because of the fact that just, you know, you guys were talking about keeping our waterways clean. I'm seeing a lot of people working on vessels. And the kind of work that they're performing, I'm talking about things that involve sanding, grinding, painting, things like that. You know, as much as we try to educate the community, some people don't get it, unfortunately. So what we've been doing, actually, I came across one today that was right at the entrance of the fork, just south of the FEC Railroad Bridge. I caught one. There was just so much debris on the water. I documented everything, and I'm going to be issuing a notice to appear with a fine of up to $15,000. Anything that touches the water, I'm not out there messing around. Whether even if you're sanding down teak, I don't really care. It's not supposed to be in the water, so everybody's going to be. That's the level of enforcement that we're putting out there. So it goes to show that our efforts are actually being reciprocated with everything that the city has in place. Aside from that, we're just getting past the king tide stuff. We did have a lot of cases be created because of the king tide and all the water that was kind of breaching through properties and going onto the public right of way and also affecting other neighbors. And then one of the things that, and if you guys can maybe add this to you guys' newsletter, if it's going out to the community and all the neighbors throughout the city of Fort Lauderdale, landscapers, when they're cutting in the backyards, these guys are coming out with leaf blowers and they're just blowing all the landscape debris into the water. And personally, you know, you think of it as like, okay, well, it's biodegradable, it's maybe a palm frond or something like that, but in reality, it's not, because someone could be going down the canal and one of these palm fronds gets stuck on their engine and it causes them damage, you know? So I've been trying to keep my eye out every time I'm out on the water because it's very common that I actually see these guys. And sometimes I have to yell at them because they have their earmuffs on while they're just blowing everything into the water. And you're just like, hey man, you know, you can't do this. And now I have to write up the property owner for, you know, a notice to appear with a fine of up to $15,000 because their landscaper decided to dump everything into the water. So if that's something that you guys can definitely add into the newsletter, just to bring out the education to the community, because I find it important to educate. I take my time and I try to talk to people as much as I can. I try to educate them as much as I can, simply because of the fact that in reality, I feel like you tend to have my word gets passed down throughout the neighborhood. So I try to push this every time I go to a district meeting or an association meeting, just simply because of the fact that some people don't know. And nevertheless, they don't know that their landscapers are actually doing this, or that the people that came out to do minor maintenance on the boat, it didn't really turn out to be minor maintenance. It was something that was just completely different. So the city of Fort Lauderdale has very strict ordinances in place when it comes to that. The level of maintenance that should be done on a boat is nothing more than I try to tell everyone, like, you can wax your vessel, but when it comes down to using a grinder or painting or anything along those lines, it's not permitted. So it should not be used. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I do actually.
Sure.
So going along with that, what you said is that you're, you know, obviously finding the property owners, which is totally understandable, but property owner hires a guy to do his yard. Nobody pays attention to how they're cleaning it up. So why can't we find those guys or both? So because those people are the ones breaking it, we start finding them, they stop.
Great question. the thing with code enforcement, okay, is, or better yet, code compliance. The issue with that is that we can only cite property. We don't cite people. So if this company is not registered within the jurisdiction of the city of Fort Lauderdale, let's say that they are registered in Miami, there's nothing that we can do to go after them. Okay. As a matter of fact, we're not even checking if they have a business license or whatnot, because they can have a business license or be registered through SunBiz, and they can operate from, you know, inside of the city of Fort Lauderdale because they're just providing a service. So in reality, what we do is we go after the property owner, and then the property owner will then go after them civilly.
So see, in my opinion, that's where we're gonna fail. Because property owners, the only thing they're gonna be able to do is fire that guy. They're not gonna be able to get anything out of them. You know what I mean? Because I mean, you can have a mom and pop guy just in anybody, right? And then we have, and especially like boat stuff, boat owners who hire someone to work on their boat in the lift or whatever. They don't know what the guys are doing. They're like, hey, I have an issue. Can you fix it? And they go out there and fix it. And if they leak the stuff, I'm not saying it's not the homeowner's responsibility, but it's definitely the guy who's working on his responsibility, because he should know better, especially if he has a license to work in the marine industry. So until we start have the ability to punish both parties, then you know I just can't see we stopping this. I mean, I see the city takes care of a lot of the city work. We pay workers to cut city medians and foliage and stuff. You think those guys aren't blowing it into the canals when they're down Bayview and stuff like that? They are. Those dudes are doing the same thing. When they're cutting the center of Bayview, they're blowing it into other people's yards, and then if they're on that stretch next to Bay Colony, where's it going? It's going right into that canal right there, and that's your guys. That's us. You know, in the city. So we like.
You said with regard to leaf blower, the leads in the water, a notice to appear. I'm assuming we're talking criminal court, up to a $15,000 fine. I think that's a pretty potent message. I don't think you'll ever see the home. Excuse me. I don't think you'll ever see that homeowner with people on landscaping that would allow that to ever happen again. And I think I'm going to see it starting to show up in some of the newsletters, so people become a lot more cognizant of it.
So I agree. I
It's
agree with you, but you're talking about a homeowner who hires somebody and then they do it because they don't care. The people if you're not watching these guys that are working, you don't know until you catch them again. You know what I mean? And like you hire a new company because that new company comes in, you tell them, hey, sternly, don't do this, and then they do it. I mean,
I think the city's position is the most efficient way to pursue this is the code enforcement board, with the exception of.
I agree with you. I'm saying, is there something that we can do as a city to hold the people who work in this city responsible as much as the homeowner? Not saying take it away from the homeowner, but
Probably does.
if you're saying
I mean, this isn't.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. I mean, it sounds like littering to me. That's
littering, yeah, right. So that's an individual issue. Can we say
it's not, I'm getting a head shake down there.
it's not?
Basically, his hands are tied, so are mine in this scenario, because we cannot NTA somebody who's not a resident of the city of Fort Lauderdale, which is a big headache for us sometimes. We got to take a course of action, but our hands are tied. We can't NTA them. We're not allowed to arrest them anymore for certain things. They just let them right out the next door, and they go do the same thing again.
So
Is there no way to take business
Wait, so where does
licenses
littering
away from
come
the
into
state
play?
as a city?
Sorry?
Petition
where
the
does
state to
littering
take
come
away?
into play?
Littering only because it's natural waste. It's not littering unless it's like, say, a dump truck full of like debris.
Right.
Dumps it, then it turns into illegal dumping.
Gotcha.
Okay. If it's just some guy with a leaf blower, it's real loose.
And I just want to make one thing clear. What I'm specifically referring to is, you know, there is that opportunity that when you actually approach a situation like that, it all depends on what is and how much is actually being dumped into the canal.
Yeah.
If you're talking like, you know, there's just a few leaves, you can easily tell the guy like, hey, can you please not do this, blow them inside or pick them up, rake them, do whatever you got to do. What I'm specifically referring to when we're taking them to court for something like this, I'm talking like, I can show you photographs of an entire apartment community where the palm trees were,
They just push all of it off.
I'm talking about,
That's crazy.
it was literally like all you see, you don't see water. All you see was pumps
Yeah, that's crazy.
all over the water. So I'm not coming out here saying that there's a guy with a leaf blower blowing leaves into the water and I'm citing for $15,000. Nevertheless, we don't cite them for $15,000.
Yeah, you haven't noticed it.
On the notice, we put up to $15,000, and we leave it up to the magistrate to make the decision of what that charge is going to be, whether it's $500 or it is $15,000. I mean, it's up to the severity of how they see it, and that is someone who is appointed by the, I believe it's by the city commissioners, to make these decisions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just look at it as a homeowner. Like, I don't know what the dude's doing on my boat. I tell him to come over here and fix something. Did he cut something and toss it overboard, or did he? You know, I don't know that because I'm watching him. You know what I mean? And
it's-
same thing
it's
with
understandable.
your things.
Look,
And I think that, like, yes, do I share responsibility? Yes, I absolutely do because I hired that guy. But that guy also should share some responsibility from the city. And if your hands are tied, your hands are tied. But is there some other legal way that we can start punishing them by taking their right to work in Fort Lauderdale, or like filing something with the state if they have a state license that, you know, through that to make them, you know, pay a state fine, or I don't know.
as much as I would love to look further
Yeah.
into that, unfortunately, that is a legal question, and it's
That's above all of our pay
Yeah.
grades here, except maybe Bob Duncan, but, and I,
Outside my wheelhouse.
yeah,
Sorry. Just to add to that, my name is Anton. I'm a code enforcement supervisor for District 1 and 2. To answer your question more clearly, our power lies in the ability to lien property.
Right.
We have no ability outside of that besides liening a property. So if we did have the ability to cite an individual, even if we cited them and we went to court, we won a $15,000 against them. If they didn't pay it, then we're back to square one. They can go out there and dump. That's why we make the property owner responsible. If the property owner gets a $15,000 fine imposed against their property, and that turns into a lien, that property is in jeopardy of being foreclosed. We're probably not going to do it, but that makes the property owner responsible for the people that they hired. It's incumbent upon the individual property owners to take care of.
I understand. I'll give you another example because we've all dealt with this with the illegal dumping of when you're building docks and, you know, all these things that we're doing with the barges coming up and finding that one place that doesn't have a house on it and dropping all their crap there and then picking up and dropping and picking up and dropping. So I've had where our neighbor, it's an empty lot, no trespassing signs. They dump. They send tractor trailers down our property and dump. That guy, when I called code to figure out the first time when I started doing this stuff, to figure out why these dudes were coming down 3 times a week down the road with a tractor trailer dumping, you know, huge concrete pilings and stuff on this guy. Code said, "Yeah, I'll come out. We'll cite the property owner." I'm like, he doesn't want them on there, so that doesn't seem right to me. That a business that operates in Fort Lauderdale can do that, punish the property owner, and then what? I got to go and sue this company because you guys punished me. Like, I think there should be some shared responsibility.
Illegal dumping is a different animal all in of itself because that takes into a criminal element, especially if they get, you know, a certain amount of stuff. We have to make the property owner responsible for the properties, their property. We
Right.
do take into account there's outliers, but the beginning of enforcement starts with the property owner being educated, 1, but 2, making sure that they're tending after their property. So if those things happen, you know, they get to them before we get to them. If you notice that they're not bagging their debris and taking it away with them, or they're not, you know, sucking it up in the machine, then where are they putting that debris? It's going into the waterway. So then as a property owner, you have to tend to your people. You have to tend to the people that you hire. And if we put you on notice once, because it doesn't start out as a 15.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally.
It starts out as an inspection report that, hey, you did X, don't do X again. And then you as a property owner have to make sure that the people that you hired don't do X again. If you do it again, then, you know, that's a property owner issue.
Totally understand.
so, Angela, yes, thank you, first of all, I didn't realize that you were sitting there, so thank you, thank you for adding that. One of the things, go ahead, Ed.
I live on Carlotta River between 13th and 14th Street. And at the end, almost the end, there's a big white box. It's on stilts now. It's 50 feet, probably by 15. And it's just a big white box and it has some pull down platform. Whatever. But it's not a boat. It showed up I think it's on a vacant lot. It doesn't seem like it should be in our canal.
So
It is,
we have an open case on that property. We're currently conducting an investigation on it.
Good.
So once we have something on there, I'll definitely bring bring a little bit more information next month. But we are aware of that property and that vessel.
it's a big, actually a big, huge white box.
Yeah, I believe it's right off of, I think,
Yeah, it's a couple
Right.
of plus.
yeah.
I know it's big.
So, Manny, you just mentioned next month, we had previously, Code would join the presentation with FLQ, et cetera. Are you okay to join us regularly?
Absolutely.
We appreciate that, because one of the things we had, wanted to talk about tonight was the role of, FLPD and Code, who goes where, who gets, because I was on a conference call the other night with, Steve Glassman's district, and were folks saying we called Code and nobody showed up, and you've heard these stories, and meanwhile, we know from Travis, when he calls Code, Code shows up. So we want to make sure, number one, we understand who's role with what, and I think we have to do a better job of getting the message out to the public, so we appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just to kind of touch on that, the Marine unit and ourselves, we've worked very well together. I mean, we all have each other's phone numbers, so if there's anything that comes up, we immediately contact each other. Aside from that, I mean, anything that you guys have any questions about, you guys can always feel free to reach out to us, and we'll do our best to try to answer all the questions, and then just refer it up to whoever needs to go. Not a problem. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays, and appreciate you guys' time.
We'll reach out to you.
Yeah, definitely come on. Steve gets the
Okay.
every time.
Moving on quickly, because I can hear we're losing everyone. Couple things here, if I could find my agenda. We talked about a review of 2024, thoughts on 2025, crystal ball, goals, initiatives, etc. I don't want to spend a lot of time with it again, just because I can sense everybody's tired, and I took up a lot of time. Our friend Patience is over here. Patience helped us coordinate a joint meeting with MIASF. Would you put up, I don't know if it's what number slide number 3, please. So we have a January meeting coming up on January 2nd. Not thrilled with the date, obviously. We're gonna leave it alone.
Well, unless people speak up tonight and say that they can't make it, period, and we don't have a forum.
I'm scheduled for January 2nd, the day after the first. I don't have a problem with it. I don't know if anybody else does.
You just have a full house.
Well, full house, you're gonna wanna get out, so you're. So, look, we're all traveling, we can't help it, we wanna make sure we have a forum, we don't know what our business issues are. We have a joint MASF kickoff, Phil Purcell, Patience, et cetera, and Ted Sorensen is stopping by to say hello. So, if you can make it, you can make it. The only reason we obviously need a forum is for business issues, and we'll promise we will have business. We'll do the best we can.
That's true. Your new business.
Okay, so that's January, and then coming up in February, that would be slide number 5, please. So coming up in February so far, again, we're hoping we're gonna have loads of business, et cetera. We have plenty of things to discuss. That's not, yeah, thank you. So coming up in February, Travis O'Neill, me, and Bill Walker, and Patience, we're on the Port Everglades Harbor Safety Commission. Travis brought, I believe Mark was there the last meeting, and basically Travis brought the SWAT team there. It's a terrific group of people. They do, as I shared before, they deal in a different world. So I believe we have Glenn Wiltshire, who's one of the senior guys at Port, is going to come and do a presentation. We're calling it a day in the life of Port Everglades operations. What's really involved here, etc. And we're doing it for a couple reasons, to enlighten people what goes on, because as you all know, it's a monumental commitment, but also the amount of business and people, et cetera, that are positively affected by what goes on in the port. So we're going to share that in February and see what else comes together. If anybody has, by the way, going forward over the next few months, a particular guest, politician, somebody for any reason whatsoever wants to have join us, reach out. Let's do that. I mean, we're really rolling pretty good, so let's keep it going. So I think that we talked about crystal ball, etc. I'm going to defer here to a. If you would please put up slide number 4, just real quickly, and I'll pass these around. Andrew. So far, here's our schedule of 2025 meetings. The July 3rd meeting, as Andrew indicated, we may have to reschedule, but right now, every meeting is the first Thursday of the month, and we have no meetings in August. So I was going to try and put this up as a QR code, because I was given the press last month, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. So anyways, so that's our meeting schedule. Again, everybody obviously take your time and so on, but we're counting everybody to be here. So we're going to we have 3 current vacancies on the board, and we're going to hope to fill them quickly. If anybody has any thoughts of something that they'd like to see join us, there's a hole in Glassman's district, one in Sorensen's district, and one in PMB's district. So, let's make sure we have some quality people here.
Can I just point out, July 3rd happens to be a Wednesday before the holiday weekend. I just want to point that out.
July 3rd is?
I thought July 3rd is the Thursday.
Thursday.
Because the 4th is a Thursday.
You're right. That's what I meant to say.
All right. Anybody want to pass some more champagne to Andrew? So
You said you guys got all the things.
I'll be off.
So we're going to hope
Don't
to.
work, I don't get paid.
So one of the things I wanted to cover again was some of the things that we hope to accomplish, but I know I'm losing everybody, so I'm going to let that go. I will share a few things real quickly. Jimmy Harrison put together, well, before I say that, basically the overriding theme that I put together for 2025 is we got kicked around a bit. Let's put this slide up, number 2, please. I have no right quoting Martin Luther King, but I'm going to do that anyways. So we got kicked around pretty good. We don't necessarily know how to get there, but doing nothing is not an option. So with respect to moratorium, anything like that, clean water, unimpeded access, all the issues we need to take, we're going to start again. I see our good friend John Kelly over there from Bradford. John is here obviously because he doesn't just support the Marine Corps, etc., but this is he's responsible for a lot of people working for him, and this is one of the reasons we have to ensure unimpeded access and safe access. I talked about John Birch State Park. I want to see kayakers be able to join us, etc. So the answer is we don't know what it all looks like, but we know we have to take some steps. Early on in the process, before we kicked off the moratorium, Jimmy had a number of ideas how to improve dock and Chagrin River. So I think what we've learned from the commission is they don't want to see one quick swipe. They want to see little chunks, etc. We will take the waiver as it's presented to us and make a decision based on the merits as we see fit based upon our information and our history. But moving forward, again, doing nothing is simply not an option for us.
Yeah,
So we're going to take some steps.
I do have some recommendations about how to move forward. And if y'all got a few minutes, I'd like to make a presentation.
Everybody cool with that? Go ahead.
Sorry, I'll try to make this as concise as possible here. Let's see, I've got a file in here. Just look at some of this survey. Well, a couple of things. I've been working a lot looking at the bathymetric chart. I've been on Google Earth looking to see where the dimensions are, how wide is the river, what's 25 feet from the property line, what kind of curves do we have, where do we have restrictions, and just a couple things to point out. Yeah, there's going to be one here. Let's see. LD Legacy Survey, right over here, just click on that. And basically go to page 9. But I'm gonna say make this brief, and I wrote up something here, but I'm just gonna go through it a little bit. You guys all know the issues and with the river and what we need to do, but the main thing is that the Coast Guard has the regulatory oversight of safe navigation in the river. And as a federally navigable waterway, the U.S. Coast Guard has jurisdiction. Their role is to ensure safe navigation for everyone, whether you're a kayak, a recreational boat, or a 150-foot yacht. Now, what the next step is, mentioning that there's something called a Waterways Analysis and Management System Review, called WAMS. We can request the Coast Guard create or get involved with a Waterways Analysis and Management System Review of the New River, and I would recommend we do that. That's the stuff here. Let's see. Let's get that. Yeah. Let's click on that one here. Oh, it's a PDF. Let's see if we get that load. It's page here now. Okay, well, that doesn't seem to be loading. Is that loading? Oh, there we go. All right, well, I'll just go to page 9 on that. All right, so look at page 9. Okay, the couple of points. Oh, here we go. All right, here's page 9. Or this is for the other page. This is the bathymetric survey that John, you were involved in, patients and the commission, and spent $7,000 for the survey. I believe it's about 19 megabyte file. The actual data is about 700 megabytes, so it's a lot of data. Very, very accurate. There's some locations where you can find some deep parts of the river. But a couple of things here is this line right here says the federal channel. This is your outside boundary, your outside boundary. So this is the definition of the river from the Corps of Engineers. So the surveyors took Corps of Engineers lines and said, okay, this is what we're surveying. Is there a way to get page 9 on that one? Okay, this is even better here. Okay, we have tarpon bed right here. You see some sort of deep places. This is the Heising House over here. Here's we've got the girls' school. We've got this tunnel right over here. What I wanted to kind of show that's not going to be that easy is if you're navigating the river, there's a couple tight places in the river. One is from the girls' school right here. We're coming around here, over here to the tunnel. This is very narrow and very windy. You can see it right over here. Let's see, is that the tunnel? Yeah. Okay. But it's hard if you're in a boat right here trying to navigate through here, you can't see what's coming to you. Channel 9, you make an announcement, you're upbound, you're downbound. Half the people aren't listening to radios, and it's a very tight place. Over here at the restaurant, along as where they put the yachts over here, dockside, or you got the little other boats that are docked over here. Oh, am I touching that? Okay. It's like that's when they're docking over there, it makes it really, really tight. And I mean, that could be anything. If you got a 50-foot boat or you have another boat coming toward you, that's a really tough spot. We go to page 11. The way to do that. You can see because it takes time to load, there's a lot of data on this. And this is where I want to, let's say, take data and put this on Google Earth so you can actually measure. Because you got Google Earth, there's no way to really measure those pieces here. Is that page 9? We are. Okay, this is.
It's on 8 now.
That's 8 too.
Yeah.
There's only one. See, we get that page 11. Okay, that's okay. Maybe it's page 13. Try page 13. It's 14, page 13. Yeah. Oh, there we go. All right. Here's little Florida. Now, a couple things to note right here is, remember we saw those outside of the channel. We got this line right here, this line. This is the outside of the channel. But you can see that a lot of this, that channel from the Corps of Engineers, is pretty close to where the seawalls are. Oops, just touched it again.
Page is it?
13. So what is it on the back?
One back.
Yeah, it's one back. I'm sorry, page 13. There we go. 13 is 15.
That black on the map, this little square black, what does that represent?
That right there, I'm not sure. Probably the lines are so close together. Because some of these lines is, it's like
It's steep.
elevation lines or altitude lines showing the depth lines. So they're so close, it gets so it comes up to a foot. Together. So this is another tight place of the river where you're going to navigate. It's going to be, this is a hard place to navigate, especially if you have small boats. If you are on the river and you hear a boat that's coming down, you're going to be staying off over here waiting for this boat to come through like that. And likewise, if you're coming up the river, or actually coming down the river, you have this area called Ripples. This is really tight. You got Davy Bridge over here. But you're going to be making a phone call or a radio call when you're over here by Davy Bridge to make sure nobody's coming up. Because if you try to meet anybody in these areas, it's going to be pretty tough.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Is that blue dredged?
Well, this is depth. This blue is deeper water. Yeah, it's deeper water, shallow. I'm looking right here. There's a 10 right here. This line is contour, and this is like 25 feet deep. There's a place in the river that are like 40, 50, 60 feet deep. Kind of interesting seeing how that is. Now, is there any way to run Google Earth? You have Google Earth on your computer? Because it'll load a KLM. I've got a KML file. If it'll load.
Bob.
Yep.
I'm wondering.
Yep.
Out of great respect, we're losing everybody.
I'm sorry.
We're losing everybody here.
All right.
What about we put it on January, a special agenda item,
Okay.
so we can really present this properly? Because I'd like, this is a phenomenal amount of information. We'll have patients, Phil, everybody here.
All right.
So I think again,
This be passed to the board?
yeah, can we share this? Can we get access? Because I'd like to see you present this where, again, it's earlier and we can really have IT line up the right slides, et cetera, really give it the floor, because you're not getting the.
Well, yeah, and for me, this is more important than needs in the canal. So if we could get this earlier, it seems like whenever I make a presentation about this, it's always at the tail end. And it seems like we really got to focus on this. We gotta do
So
something.
it's your fault. It's your fault because you got to reach out to Andrew and say, I want to put that on as an agenda item.
Okay.
So it'll be on right after police, waterway crime safety. We'll get everybody addressed, so we won't let it fall through the cracks. But this is way too serious to come at the end of the meeting. Everybody agree?
All right.
You know, that's an important point. Yeah, I'd like to do it that way. We get it, that way we all get it and look at it.
All right. Well, as far as this survey goes, Jonathan, you have it available for anybody that wants that?
It's a humongous file, and the way that we got it is like one of those, a shared file that it was a link to a website, which we were able to download it to. Let me see if I can, I have 3 different files that have all of that on there, and we're restricted by what? How many megs? 10 usually. Something like that. He might be able to compress it, so we can,
We
Can
can
you
take a
just
look
share
at
the
it.
link to download it as opposed to sharing the file
I
directly?
tried the link today, it didn't work. So,
Guys, I'll tell you what.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll work with Green Industries, we'll make it happen.
If we
We
can
can get a look at it.
If you can't get a Dropbox, we'll make you a copy it on a card, pass a card.
We'll just try it tomorrow.
We'll get it. Okay. Bob, thank you. I want everybody to understand the amount of work that Bob has put into this. Mr. Franks, thank you very much. It's a monumental effort. And thank you. So we will pick it up first thing, and there will be no excuse next month. So a few things, guys, before we have the second foot out the door. I mentioned earlier when we were celebrating with Santa that John is planning his last meeting with us, at least for now. In all seriousness, there's simply no finer gentleman in the green industries that I know, and we have no better friend than John. His accomplishments, finding money, etc., in the city and grants are truly legendary, and I mean that with the greatest respect. You know, it's so. And Andrew's going to introduce Lewis in a second, who's going to step in and kind of take over for John. But those are big boots to follow to fill. So hopefully you'll hang around for a while because we've accomplished a lot. Sir.
Relative to John, I gotta say, the stuff that I do, he was strong right on.
I just want to tell everybody, I'm retiring. So I'm going to be 65 next month, so this is a good thing. I hope whoever gets into my seat gets as much out of this job as I got. I have a ball.
So what do you say? Thank you.
So bring Jamie back.
So now that we don't have John anymore, I'm not- so Andrew, would you introduce Lewis?
Sure, I'd like to introduce Louis Villanueva, Senior Administrative Assistant, works with me for 15 years, 16, 17, he's worked with us a long time. And he's going to be stepping into my assistant role in this meeting. So you'll see Louis a lot. I'll tell him not to wear a hat next time. And it'll be good to work with him.
Thank you again. So I'll try to wrap up relatively quickly. A few quick things. Patients again had forwarded this to us. If anybody chooses to attend, I'll circulate this. It is a meeting on Thursday, December 12th. Riverwalk seawall replacement project, extremely important. We'll circulate that around. So I think that's an important event. If anybody has the time to support them. Patients, any comments about that?
I just think it's an opportunity, and I think if your board should be aware of it.
Absolutely.
But you were supposed to comment on the way, and I thought it was important that it happened.
Thank you. So, two other quick things. Bob Dunkel had sent around an email that he saw, and I saw as well, that refers to Florida's next economic boom, Ocean State's next business strategy. From, there's a whole write-up about my granddaughter's business, Kind Designs, and how the living seawalls are becoming more important and in vogue, etc. But there's so much that's going on in so much of the economy, and no better place than down here that's dependent on the water. So we'll keep the fight open. Thank you for forwarding that, Bob. With that said, I want to say that's all I have. Anybody else? Well, 1 second. Would you put up slide number 6, please? And this is all I have. Comments from folks, and good, new, bad news, anything whatsoever we could share. It's John Kelly. Everything's good down your end. It's a pleasure having you stop by. Again, we're going to be fighting with the fire marshal, with the fire chief, to see if we can get some assets up toward John's end up there. We talked about the fact we lose $300,000 center console. We paid for the entire budget to have a boat station up there. So we know that Mark and the team are also trying to work and get assets up there. When that bridge drops, we're all out of business up there. So I'm all set with that. I could not be more thankful to have a guy like John Kelly and other folks stop by. Our January meeting again is a joint meeting with MISF. Patients, anything special on your end? Thank you.
Chance to comment from the peanut gallery?
Yes, sir, peanut gallery.
Okay, yeah, I'm Ray Parker. I'm on Sunrise Key. Sunrise Key, Tree Hall, is in zoning category RS 4.4. The ordinances right now don't allow dockage for rent on those in those categories. There is a memo to the commission here from last June, which talking about flooding and what can we do about flooding. And it's buried in here is a suggestion that you hire a chief waterways officer. And if anybody wants to do that, that's fine as far as I'm concerned. But the method of paying for it is that the ordinances be changed so that you can legally rent dock space in RS 4.4 and RS 8, I think it is. And there will be permits for that, and the income from the permits will pay for the waterways officer. And I just want to go on record that I strenuously disagree.
I know I do. So let me interrupt.
Yeah.
First of all, I apologize for keeping you waiting. I didn't realize that somebody else. No, it isn't okay. So if it happens again, please bug us. So you should not have waited. This is Assistant Town Council. Were you addressing the problem? That was news to me.
This is the first time I'm hearing about it. I'm just totally flabbergasted because a lot of things that I work with, the use of a dock is accessory to the upland use. You turn around and make a dock rental, that becomes a new principal use. What you're going to have to do to the ULDR and the impact that's going to have on the neighborhoods. I give an example. Right now, I'm working on Hendricks Isle, where on the east side, you've got a condominium, and there's a small triangular parcel on the west side. They want to put docks there. No, you can't do that. You got to have a principal upland building. Well, okay, it's right across the street. Well, it's a little bit more than that. Not only are you going to have that principal upland building, but you're going to have to tie the two parcels together with the unity of title. Furthermore, I'm going to want your declaration of condominium to include both parcels in the definition of property. And lastly, I want to make sure that that declaration of condominium makes the docks on the west side limited common elements so that you have that accessory use to the principal use to the people who live on the property. This is a disaster in my book.
That could have been proposed during the conversation. It's I just written into the memo.
We would have heard that from.
It said these are.
So we've been involved.
I remember somebody saying it might be a good idea to think about it. And it would be
a bad idea to think about
but yeah, I remember hearing
Construction neighborhoods.
I don't remember ever seeing anything official. And we
get a copy.
if you're doing it anyway, might as well charge them for it. Kind of concept somebody said.
If you'd be kind enough, you left an email, or if you leave it on the plans or whatever, we'd be happy to let you know the resolution. I assure you that is not.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. So is your objection though to the funding mechanism of that or to the rental of docks? To the rental of docks.
You know, I don't care how you phrase it. I mean, it's one position. As a matter of fact, we talked to Commissioner Herbst on his way out there, and he said, we've got 3,000 employees, one more position. We don't have to change a lot of things to hire somebody. So we have a lot of problems with, take first my house, it's across the canal from me. We've got 2 boats in excess of 100 feet, each with crews on them. They're often spending the night, that are up there working on things all the time. I can't sit out and enjoy my pool on weekends even because they're there doing it. And it's interesting because the house itself is owned by a dermatologist from California who rents the dock spaces, and he has turned the house into an Airbnb. So we've got a commercial venture.
Question, are the dock spaces being rented independent of who occupies the upland dwellings?
It's not 20,000. No. Sunrise Key.
Which one?
Yes, Sunrise Key.
Which one is there for?
Let me know the address. We'll get together with Manny. Go after it.
And so this is Bob Duncan, Assistant Town Attorney.
I've seen him before.
Yeah, he's
Don't
around.
mention the loincloths.
He's around. And so Manny Garcia's code. We have to face with. So all you gotta do, if forget all the names, reach out to Mr. Cuba, he should direct you, but there's no reason we should let this down. So thank you.
Thanks very much. I appreciate this.
Thank you very much. We'll get together. meeting and appreciate it.
So that's what I have. I greatly appreciate it. Any other comments from anybody? With that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to close.
Motion to close. Second motion to close. Second, Mr. Reynolds or whoever it is. All in agreement? Yes. Happy holidays, everyone.
Holidays.